everybody, it's JimJ 1911. I am here with a really cool gun today at Gateway Gun Club in Bridgeton, Missouri. My friend Les told me that I could borrow this, and this gun is so cool. I'm not going to tell you much about it right now. I'll tell you a little more about it on the flip side. But for now, this is probably the most unique 1911 JimJ 1911s ever gotten to shoot. This was made especially for bullseye shooting. And as you can see right here, there is this extended rail. It's got an extended sight on it, okay? This is a Giles Colt 1911 mid-range. It shoots 38 Special Wadcutters, okay? So this is a really unique, fun gun. I've never gotten to shoot anything like this. And it's got a really cool history. So apparently there were only a couple of people that manufactured guns like this. And like I said, we'll talk a little bit about this after we've shot it. But for now, let's just see how she runs. All right, so here she is. We're gonna see how she runs. Like I said, we've got this rail extension up here, okay? And so my front sight is all the way out here. And it's a little different to shoot because sometimes the hammer or the slide can be a little finicky. Like I said, it's a little older gun, so we may have to manually cock the hammer from time to time. So let's see how she does. So smooth to shoot. Now what I'm doing, you'll notice I'm actually having to unlock the slide. The slide locks back every time I fire. So I'm just using my thumb to knock that slide lock back down. And now I see my hammer didn't cock, so we're gonna manually cock the hammer like I talked about. There we go. All right, let's try another magazine. So these magazines are a little bit different. We, first of all, have these wad cutters in here. They're flat-nosed, so that automatically gives us a really cool hole in the paper, and I'll have to show you the target after we're done. But it's a perfect circle, absolutely beautiful. And this magazine, we've only got 5 rounds loaded in it. These are custom magazines, and they have these 2 little teeth up here, so they hold those rounds in. So let's fire 5 more. Another thing we have to watch for is really getting that magazine seated in there. Oh, gotta cock the hammer. All right, and that was it. So I'm very happy. I have a nice little grouping, and man, that is a fun gun to shoot, even with the little bit of, I don't know, idiosyncrasies that comes with it, you know, having to manually unlock the slide from time to time or manually cock the hammer. It is so smooth to shoot. So make sure that you stick around for the rest of this video because we are going to give you a little bit of history about this really cool gun, and you're not going to want to miss it. Hi everybody, we're back from the range, and I have this Giles custom piece that we're going to talk about that we just shot. So I'm gonna pull out my magazine and I'm gonna show you that we are empty. So this gun was, well, it's very unique, and I am really interested to hear from you guys exactly who has seen one of these, who's shot one of these, because, you know, when Les loaned this to us at Gateway Gun Club, and he actually was telling me about it before I ever saw it. He said, hey, I've got a gun for you to shoot, which is kind of standard for Les, as you're noticing in my videos probably. He said, I've got a gun for you to shoot, and it's pretty unique. It's a 1911. Being that you're a 1911 girl, this would be a great gun for you to shoot and review. And as he was telling me about it, I couldn't even visualize what he was talking about. You know, he kept saying that it had this extended sight and that it had an extended rib on it. And I thought, what? I don't even get it. And so then he brought the gun into me at Gateway, and I opened the case up and I thought, what is this? So first of all, I will say again, as I already stated out at the range, this is a Giles Custom Colt 1911 mid-range. It began its life as just a regular old Colt 38 Super when Mr. Giles, John Giles, who went by Jimmy apparently, according to my research, when he got a hold of it, he turned it into a 38 Special. So it shoots 38 Special Wadcutters like nobody's business. I mean, those holes that I punched in the paper were just perfectly round. You couldn't have used a hole punch that would have been more precise. So anyway, John Giles, Jimmy, was a master pistol smith, and he was known for converting guns or customizing guns to be great bullseye guns. So basically that's what this is. So this extended rib is basically lengthening your line of sight. It's supposed to give you a better line of sight so that you can shoot more accurately. He was known for rebuilding match guns with things like custom sights and custom triggers and these ribs like this. He was based in Odessa, Florida, so people would buy, buy a gun like, for example, this Colt. They'd buy it, and then they would send it to him, and he would customize it. There were only a couple of guys at the time that were doing these kinds of customizations, like with this extended rail at the top, or this extended rib. And this particular gentleman produced more than 4,000 of these 1911s, these Target 1911s, in about the span of 32 years. So in doing some research on this, and I will tell you right now, there's not a lot of information to be had about this kind of gun or this particular gun with this extended rib on it. I poured through different 1911 forums and bullseye forums and shooting forums and reloading forums just to find some information. I did come across one thread where a couple of guys were saying that they would put this in like a mechanical shooter situation so that they could test this. And not this particular gun, but this kind of gun, this style of gun, was shooting 2 inches at 50 yards. So that is groupings of 2 inches at 50 yards. That's pretty incredible. And if you take into consideration, these guns were made in the 1960s, okay? A lot of them have been shot a lot. That's what they were for. And I did read another, more information that said a lot of these guns have just been torn up because they've been used so much. This one, I would say, is in pretty immaculate condition. So, I did have the trouble, and Les had warned me about this beforehand. He said that when you fire it, sometimes the slide locks open, and that's easy enough to fix because when you do that, all you have to do is use your thumb. On my weak hand, I use my left thumb to just knock that slide lock back down again, and it would go right back in place. The slide would go right back in place. And the other thing that happened was that I would have to manually cock the hammer sometimes, and you saw that in the video too. So Les did say that he was going to be sending this off to a gunsmith. He does, you know, some of his own gun work, but he said he didn't feel comfortable doing that with this gun because this is such an incredible gun, so unique and so rare. So this rib length, we actually measured this rib length, and from the end of the barrel to the sight, it measures at about 1¼ inches. So 1¼ inches apparently is enough to give you a much better sight line. So that's pretty cool to know. And also we tested the trigger, and the trigger pull came out, we did an average of 5 pulls, and the trigger pull came out at 5 pounds 7 ounces. So now speaking of the trigger, this trigger is incredibly unique, and it's obviously a custom trigger that Mr. Giles put in himself. So not only is this trigger curved, it is also really wide, and hopefully you'll be able to see that in the pictures, that it is much wider than your normal trigger. It also has the serrations on the face of the trigger. So it's a really, really comfortable trigger. In fact, I wish more manufacturers made triggers like this, because that wide trigger actually fits very well in the bend of your finger. At least it did for me. So it also cycles very, very smoothly. It just, when you rack this slide, I mean, you can see it's just, I'm barely doing anything. I'm not having to exert much energy or pressure into it at all. And it also fires so smoothly. There's not much recoil. There's not much muzzle flip. So it's just so much fun to shoot. And, you know, if it was not somebody else's precious find of a gun, I probably would have shot it a lot more, but I hated to do that just because, you know, it's not my gun. If it was my gun, I'd probably go out and shoot it a lot more. It's just so much fun to shoot. You know, it has this sight, this rear sight, that is also apparently a Giles trademark. It's got what they call the wagon wheel. And so that was an addition that he put on too. And it's just a really, really beautiful piece. So, you know, I really would love to hear from you guys if you've ever shot one of these, if you've even seen one before. You know, it looks kind of goofy like this, but when you look at it close up, you can't even tell. This rib looks like it is one piece with this slide. It doesn't look like something that was welded on at all. And it's just so finely done. And I really wish that, you know, gun makers and manufacturers could still make guns like this. So, you know, obviously he started with a really great piece because this is a Colt, and Colts are great guns to begin with. So he had a great canvas to work with. You know, he also added the trademark, apparently to him, trademark stippling on the back strap and the front strap. So that is also a Giles trademark. But anyway, I would really love to hear from you guys what you think of this, and if you've ever gotten to shoot one, if you've ever even seen one before. So keep your eyes open. You know, you might see one of these at a gun show somewhere or online somewhere. Maybe an old friend or relative has one, and, you know, they just don't ever talk about it much because it's just like, I don't know, it's just one of those unique things. And I hope that this is not something that gets lost in history. So let me know, drop a comment in the comment box. Let me know what you know about these. I would love to have more history on it. And I look forward to talking to you all again soon.